6:59 if you're ready to. Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for those who are in attendance. Thank you for those who are watching. Welcome to the City of Binghamton City Council meeting, 8th of February, 2023, 6 p.m. I ask you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk will call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, Councilwoman Resnetti. Councilwoman Riley,
Present.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns, Councilman Strawn,
Present.
Councilman Scanlon,
Present.
and President Scaringi.
Present.
That's all 7 members here.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Councilwoman Resnetti is recognized for the purposes of a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the minutes for the January 25th, 2023 business meeting.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion in by Councilwoman Resnetti, seconded by Councilman Strawn. All's in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it, passes unanimously. There are no reports from standing committees or any approval of minutes from such. We'll move to agenda item number 6, approval of appointments. Currently, there is a vacancy for the CDAC or Community Development Advisory Committee City Council at large position. I want to thank both of the gentlemen, Mr. Hotchkiss, as well as Mr. Kumpan, who submitted their CVs with interest. So I thank them both for that. That's great. I know the clerk's office sent that out in electronic form, respectively, when they came in, and I spoke with the city clerk's office and requested that they resend those just to get them at the top of our inboxes earlier today. So I appreciate that. Keep in mind that this is a chartered vote that requires a majority with respect to the charter. At this time, colleagues, is there any discussion? Councilwoman Riley, you're recommending.
Thank you, Council President. As I stated time and time again, we went over this process extensively. We said we would have all CVs, resumes in by the business meeting. Then subsequently, due to further discourse, another CV was submitted. That was not what we discussed previously. However, since here we are again, I just wanted to make sure that that was noted on the record, because you and I talked extensively about process and we did not follow said process. So I'm just bringing that up. We did take it to a vote and now here we are again. So it is a little bit different in terms of our evaluation and processing moving forward. But I did need to document and clearly state that, again, the process was amended to fit those in the majority. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councilwoman Friedman, you are recommending. Sorry.
Thank you, President Scaringi. I would like to speak in favor of Nathan Hotchkiss as the CDAC City Council at large position. Even literally years before he applied for this, he has sent us information with city data that he has compiled. He's emailed us multiple times on multiple occasions. So I think it's clear he's proven himself that he has his finger on the pulse of what's going on in the city. I think he would be a phenomenal addition to the CDAC, and I support him wholeheartedly. And he's a name that we've heard before, and hopefully we will hear again. So I look forward to putting my support behind Nathan Hotchkiss. Thank you.
Thank you kindly. Any other discussion? Councilman Burns, you're recognized.
Yeah, I'd like to speak about Mr. Hotchkiss as well. You know, since I've been on, I don't know him well as a one-on-one, but I know him as someone who is involved in the community in such a way that he is always sending information that I wouldn't previously have had that has helped me a great deal in a lot of my city council endeavors. So we ask people to get involved, and he isn't just now getting involved, he's always involved. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Resnick, you are
Thank
recognized.
you. No, I just real briefly wanted to say thank you to both those candidates. It's really nice to have two what appear to be qualified candidates for this particular position. And it's been a while since we've had that filled. And also thank them for their patience, because it did take a little longer. I think they both expected. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Thank you, ma'am. Please be mindful that microphones are on and just they don't have a good long distance. So please make sure you can keep them as close to you as you possibly can. Thank you for that. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, Chair will entertain motions. Please be mindful that motions, the primary one needs to be made in the form of a name of one of the candidates. And when the roll is called with the name of the candidate that you would to cast at this time. Are there any nominations? Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you, President Scringy. I'd like to make a motion to nominate Nathan Hotchkiss for the Community Development Advisory Committee at large position.
I
Second,
have a motion for Nathan Hotchkiss by Councilwoman Friedman, seconded by Councilwoman Riley. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Councilman Scanlon.
I'd like to nominate Jacob Coupon for the CDHC rep.
Thank you, Councilman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Scanlon, seconded by Councilman Strawn for Jason Coupon. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other? Seeing none, clerk will call the roll.
Okay, please state the name of the individual you would like to vote for. Councilwoman Resnick,
Jacob Coupon.
Councilwoman Riley,
Nathan Hotchkiss.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Nathan Hotchkiss.
Councilman Burns,
Nathan Hotchkiss.
Councilman Strawn,
Jacob Coupon.
Councilman Scanlon,
Jacob Coupon.
and President Scringy.
Jacob Coupon.
That's 4 votes for Jacob Coupon and 3 votes for Nathan Hotchkiss.
Clerk will move that forward. Thank you all. At this time, clerk's office will set a public meeting. Mr. Clerk.
Okay, the city of Binghamton will hold a public hearing regarding RL 23-33. And it's an ordinance to amend the zoning map to rezone portions of Henry Street, Fayette Street, Pine Street, Lewis Street, and Liberty Street in accordance with the Stadium District Master Plan. The public hearing will take place at 6 p.m. during the next regular City Council business meeting on March 1st, 2023, here in City Council chambers. Residents wishing to submit comment may do so at the meeting or electronically by emailing their comments prior to 1 p.m. on the day of the meeting to clerk@cityofbinghamton.gov. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. At this time, we'll move to the public comment portion of the meeting. Item agenda number 9, residents wishing to speak during public comment may do so electronically by emailing their comments prior to 1 p.m. on the day of the meeting to clerk@cityofbinghamton.gov or in person during the meeting. At this time, individuals from the public may come to the front and speak. Please make sure you state your name and whether you work and or reside in the city of Binghamton. You will be given a clear, full 5 minutes. And let's assure that decorum is upheld and the floor is open. Evening, sir. Sir, forgive me. Is there a green light on these microphones? Yeah. There's a little button in the front, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hello, council members. My name is Bob Firmstone. I'm the business agent of Teamsters Local 317. I represent the employees who will be affected by the parts manager coming in to manage the parts. I'm asking council members to vote no on the matter. The city got a few issues here. The city was telling you the truth that no employee will be laid off because of this. But they forgot to tell you that the two storekeepers positions will be eliminated. These are promotional positions, and it will deny the current employees an opportunity for advancement and increases in wages and benefits. That's what they forgot to tell you. These two positions will be eliminated. Right now, there's 3, and if this goes through, there's only be 1. City needs to invest in their employees, give current employees the training they need to do their job as a storekeeper more efficiently. This would eliminate missing parts, stop delaying getting parts, and keep better records. The computer system is very outdated and needs to be updated. This would help them out tremendously as far as inventory and keeping parts in order. This move will also affect local vendors. I mean, they contribute to the local economy. I think we should use local people to get parts and not outsiders. City doesn't need a private firm for parts. The current employees who perform the job as storekeepers do a good job. With some training and updates in the computer system, they will be more efficient and do a better job. As far as the non-union and union matter, I just think it's going to be just make the work environment not good. I just non-union and union working together, that usually don't take place in the places I represent. Either they're union or non-union. So I don't think that's going to work good as far as the employees go. It's going to cause dissension. These people, took our jobs. These people took our promotions. I just don't think it's going to work out good. So hopefully I could get a few no votes and this be turned down, and train your employees and make it a better work environment for everybody. Thank you.
Evening.
Hi, my name is Kathy Staples. I work on Pine Street in Binghamton. I live on the next block of Pine Street in Binghamton. So part of what you guys are going to be talking about the next meeting is the development that's going to be on Henry Street with an unexplained wing onto Pine Street. So I've seen council a bunch of times because I came to all the zoning meetings, because it is a residential neighborhood. And I know that there's a context that a lot of people have, that people on Pine Street, we're poor, we don't care about our neighborhood, we don't care about our systems and our processes. Well, I'm here, so I do, and that's where I live and work. And the people that don't attend stuff, they don't attend because they're also at work. But I digress. So the wing that's going to be on Pine Street is going to be 3 stories tall. The houses are 2 stories tall. So our backyard that I've gotten to enjoy with my family is now going to have people that can look into it. That's creepy. I have a 6-foot privacy fence. There's trees around my backyard. And yes, I live on Pine Street, but it's a beautiful backyard. My garden. And now I'm going to have people that look over it. They did make a concession in moving their garbage from next to my front porch. They did make that concession. But the connotation of we didn't get any voice in the fire department, we got none. We weren't informed. We weren't told of any zoning meetings, nothing. We were told nothing, and we have a giant fire department in our neighborhood. Oh, and we're going to lose parking on our street because nobody bothered to check into the fact that a fire truck might have a problem turning into that lot. So when you consider that there's going to be a development, yes, great. Like there is a huge lot on Henry Street that they're going to take up with a mixed use building. Fantastic. Keep that. That property's been vacant for years. There was garage, there was a garbage dump. Like, yes, keep that. But one of the few low income neighborhoods left in the city, and we don't seem to get a voice, or we don't seem to get heard. So it kind of makes sense why people don't attend things, because they don't have a voice and they don't get heard. And I mean, we don't live in a rich neighborhood, but we still live here and we still pay taxes and we still work and we still want our kids and our families to have a really enjoyable life here. We don't want to move our families. My kids have grown up here. They went to Binghamton their entire school careers. And now they don't get to enjoy their backyard. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Good evening. I lived in Binghamton for 5 years and I've traveled to other places. I've lived in New York City most of my life. And sometimes other
Could you
places
please
can give
state
us.
your name for the record? I'm sorry.
Richard Giannaccio,
Thank you.
Binghamton resident. We can learn from other places how to do things better. And I just heard someone from Pine Street say that she was not informed of the zoning change. In New York City, anybody within 500 feet of a zoning change must by law be informed prior to any public hearing. It wouldn't be bad if we had legislation like this. Of course, it's not going to be retroactive in this case, but for the future, I think things can be done a little better. I agree that this is no longer an industrial area and probably should be rezoned, but it could also be tweaked somewhat so that the density is not the same on Pine Street that it is on Henry Street, which would make a whole lot of sense to conform to the neighborhood as it exists. And that's all I have to say, is really that the general idea is good, but the details could be better. And that we could, in the future, have legislation so that we don't have people coming here surprised, and many of them probably don't even know where they would be here as well. It shouldn't happen that neighborhoods change without notification. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Evening.
My name is Tina Chronopoulos. I live on Laurel Avenue, which happens to be in the district of Sophia Resiniti, who's sitting over there in the corner. I'm here tonight to talk to you about a bunch of things. First of all, I would like to support the first speaker here. There's nothing more terrible than bringing in private management to deal with an issue that can be solved locally. I'm sure you can think of a bunch of examples where we have seen that happening. A private company is not interested in the community that it is being helicoptered into. They basically just care about the bottom line. There is nothing like having unionized workers to work for the community, to get paid a living wage, to do the job that they've been hired to do. And I'm really looking forward to the pro-worker council members voting no on this proposition that is on the table tonight. I mean, I know that some of you are pro-business, which is hard to believe given the building work that took place on State Street, which was so badly bungled that several private businesses, from what I've heard, have talked to council members and to the mayor and were basically waved aside, including one business where they weren't able to pay themselves any wages because the street was in such a bad state that people couldn't go and shop at those businesses. Can I please hear from my council representative, who I believe is pro-business, or some of you others who may be also pro-business, how that was pro-business? That's not how that would have gone down had the work been carried out on the street where your private business is located. And then the third thing that I want to talk about is, as somebody who pays taxes in this city, which I have been doing since property taxes since 2012, I have a stake, I guess, in some of the decisions that I made here, even though I feel unrepresented and unheard, and, you know, frankly, yes, unheard by my council representative. I have a stake in some of the decisions that happen here. The city's budget is in large part dedicated to policing. And I frankly am disgusted, and to use a word that was used by the mayor recently, who tweeted on the 28th of January in a really kind of shameful way, I find, the video showing the brutal and deadly violence against Ty Nichols at the hands of Memphis police is horrific and appalling, unconscionable. My heart breaks for the loved ones of Mr. Nichols, and especially his 4-year-old son. That is empty rhetoric. We know it. Just stop tweeting that stuff. It's disgusting. When in your own city, on the 1st of January this year, a Black man was nailed to the ground by a police officer with a knee that is illegal. It has been banned in 2020. Both the then mayor noted chokeholds and neck restraints may not be used by police. Officers are also required to de-escalate situations. Rich David said this in June 2020. And then the New York Assembly passed a law, the Eric Garner Anti-Chokehold Act, that makes it illegal for police officers to use chokeholds or similar restraints. And it turns out, thank you, I looked it up, the Binghamton police use of force policy seems to be out of date, because they still allow it. So I don't know what's going on there, but as a stakeholder, I am disgusted by the inaction, by the mayor's hollow tweeting, by the fact that the police officer is now on desk duty. Can you imagine at my job, if I did something like that, I would be fired. Desk duty, are you kidding me? And then the refusal to carry out a proper outside investigation. Do you really think that the city or the police are going to investigate themselves and be like, oh gosh, we made a mistake. We got to get that guy fired? Of course not. They're going to close ranks. Come on, give me a break, y'all. Pro-business, pro-security. You only care about your own people. You don't care about the poor people
Your
who
5
live on
minutes
Main
is up.
Street. People of color, I don't see it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you all to those who spoke. Are there any other? Seeing none, we will move on to agenda item number 8, preferred agenda. Colleagues, are there any requests for legislation on the preferred agenda that you would like to request removed? Remove to the non-preferred. Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, floor is yours.
So the first item on tonight's preferred agenda is introductory ordinance 23-29, considered in the Rules and Special Studies Committee. And this is an ordinance to amend various sections of chapter 225, electrical standards of the code of the city of Binghamton.
Any discussion? None, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 23-30 considered in finance, and this is an ordinance to amend the 2022 Binghamton Johnson City Joint Sewage Treatment Facilities budget for FEMA reimbursement.
Discussion. None, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 23-31 considered in finance. This is an ordinance to amend, an ordinance to allocate ARPA funds for a multi-craft apprenticeship preparation program.
Discussion. Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 23-32 considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to allocate ARPA funds to support the Broome County Arts Council.
Any discussion? Councilwoman Friedman, you're recommended.
Thank you, President Scringy. I think I mentioned this at the work session when this came up. I have mixed feelings about this. And they're not at all tied to the Broome County Arts Council itself. I love what they're doing. I think they're an incredible asset to this community. I visited their First Friday exhibit it was last Friday. And they, in my opinion, are a wonderful organization. I have mixed feelings only because I don't know that, ARPA can be used to increase tourism that maybe declined over COVID. And also they're the Broome County Arts Council, not the City of Binghamton Arts Council. So I hesitate a little bit. I will vote yes, but I just wanted to say, I don't know. I just needed to put that in the record of my thoughts. It's an unequivocal yes to supporting the Broome County Arts Council. Is this the most appropriate use of funding? I don't know, but I'm happy to support the Arts Council. So I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Mr. Clerk.
Okay, next we have introductory ordinance 23-33 considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2022 Binghamton Johnson City Joint Sewage Treatment Facilities budget for FEMA reimbursement.
Discussion. Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory resolution 23-07 considered in the Public Works and Parks Committee. And this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to extend the intermunicipal agreement with Broome County for operation of the First Ward Senior Center Kitchen for the county-sponsored senior citizen meal program.
Any discussion? Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory resolution 23-08 considered in planning. And this is a resolution to correct the 2023 tax rolls for various properties.
Discussion. Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have introductory resolution 23-09 considered in finance. And this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to accept a New York State Department of Homeland Security FEMA grant.
Discussion. Councilwoman Friedman, you are recommended.
Oh, I wanted to say that my name was erroneously added to this piece of legislation. So I spoke to the clerk beforehand and requested that my name was removed. So this is right. Am I correct?
2309, resolution 2309 wasn't one of the ones
Oh.
we spoke about.
I
But if you'd like
apologize.
to remove your name,
Oh, no, I apologize. I don't want to remove my name. I want to keep it on. My mistake.
Okay.
Just kidding.
Councilwoman. You all right? Fine.
No, I apologize. There was other legislation
Okay.
that I requested my name to be removed from, and I erroneously thought that this
No,
was,
that's, was
that
there,
piece,
was there
and it is
anything
not.
on the preferred agenda that fell under that category?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Council. Seeing none, entertain a motion to accept the preferred agenda.
Motion to accept the preferred agenda.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Scanlon, seconded by Councilwoman Rezanetti. Clerk will call the roll.
Councilwoman Resnetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn, Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and President Scrivener.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Preferred agenda passes. This time, we will move toward introductory ordinance 23-28. Please be cognizant of the fact that there is a state environmental quality review that needs to occur with respect to a negative declaration. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Rezanetti for the purposes of a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following seeker motions are in reference to the legislation before us. Introductory ordinance 23-28, an ordinance authorizing the sale of 180-186 Henry Street, 77 Pine Street, 162 Henry Street, Kearney Realty and Development Group, Inc. for $1.
Second by Councilman Scanlon, motioned by Councilwoman Rezanetti. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The
Aye.
opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Councilwoman Rezanetti.
I make a motion to declare city council as lead agency under seeker.
Second. Second.
Aye.
Aye.
That's it. Thank you. Sorry about that. Appreciate you. A motion by Councilwoman Rezanetti, seconded by Councilman Scanlon. All those in favor signify by saying
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any seconds? Are there any nays? For the seeker unlisted. Passes unanimously. Councilwoman Rezanetti.
So I make a motion to issue a negative declaration under seeker for the following reasons. This is the sale of city property for the construction of a mixed-use building with 65 dwelling units and 4,300 square feet of commercial space and one ancillary parking area. Purchases a private New York State developer that intends to create affordable housing units. All parcels in the subject site are currently vacant, and the proposed city plan, land use, and associated variances have been approved by the City Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scanlon. All those in favor by saying aye through a roll call vote. Mr. Clerk.
Councilwoman Rezanetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon, and President Scrivener.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
State Environmental Quality Review for introductory ordinance 23-20. Obviously, Councilwoman Rezanetti, a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consideration of introductory ordinance 23-28, an ordinance authorizing the sale of 180-186 Henry Street, 77 Pine Street, and 162 Henry Street, Kearney Realty and Development Group, Inc. for $1.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Rezanetti, seconded by Councilman Scanlon. Colleagues, discussion. Councilwoman Friedman, you were.
In light of the fact that it has been brought to our attention by a resident, my neighbor, that there has been insufficient notice or outreach, I'm going to make a motion to hold this over.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Having chapter 26 exercised, it is held over to the next meeting for second read legislation, motioned by Councilwoman Friedman, seconded by Councilwoman Riley. We move forward with introductory resolution 23-04. Chair recognizes Councilman Strawn for the purposes of a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consideration of introductory resolution 23-04. A resolution authorizing the mayor to accept the Homeland Security SUASP Federal Explosive Detection K-9 grant.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Rezanetti, motioned by Councilman Strawn. Colleagues, discussion. Councilwoman Friedman, you were.
Thank you, President Scrivener. This is the legislation that my name was erroneously added to. I got confused because I glanced and they both had Homeland Security in them. So that was the source of my confusion. So I was not present at the meeting when this was brought up, I believe. And one of our speakers said significant portion of our city's budget goes toward the police department. I remember when we first elected onto city council, one of the pieces of legislation that came before us was about explosive detection canine. And I don't remember if it was a grant or if it was city funds, but I did some research in preparation for that. And I was asking questions like, how often is an explosive detection canine used? And the answer was not very often, if at all. Where would it be used? Well, probably at the bus station, which is in my district. Who tends to use the bus? It tends to be people without disposable income who need to take public transportation because they don't have their own car. I am generally not in favor of providing the police department with any more money. I understand that this is a grant, so it's not taxpayer money, but it still doesn't sit right with me when there's so much going on with the way that we police. And a lot of it is reactionary. And so I don't think that this is necessary. I worry that it would be only used as, or primarily used, or even partly used as an intimidation tactic. Oftentimes when dogs are present in a situation, it's used sometimes to intimidate people. So this doesn't sit right with me, and I will be voting no.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other discussion? Councilwoman Riley, you're working.
Council President, I know it doesn't surprise you that I will be speaking after my co-counsel partner here, Councilperson Friedman. But in the past, I typically supported anything related to grant funding. And I don't know if you recall, as Councilperson Friedman stated, when we first started receiving the grants for review by the police department, we were discussing with Officer Bidwell, and I believe I also asked Chief Krasinski, always mess it up, sorry. If we receive this money and money has already been allocated, then there will be no further need to ask for additional resources. However, that was not true, because we can have funds allocated for the dogs, receive a grant that will add to that line, but yet we still always need additional funding for operations for the police. And that confuses me. So I too will be voting no. And you do notice my name is also not on this legislation. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And as an aside, Mr. Clerk, can we please make sure that with respect to names of sponsorship, that's cleared up for Councilwoman Friedman and Councilwoman Riley as well? Yeah, thank you. Any other discussion? Is the question called?
Call a question, Mr. President.
Questions have been called. Mr. Clerk.
Councilwoman Rosnetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Nay.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Nay.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
President Scringy.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes, 2 nays, Riley and Friedman.
Thank you, everyone. Introductory Resolution 2305. Chair recognizes Councilman Strawn for the purposes of a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consideration of introductory resolution 23-05. It's a resolution authorizing the mayor to accept the COPS COPS hiring program grant.
Do I hear a second? Motion by Councilman Strawn, seconded by Councilman Scanlon. Discussion. Councilwoman Friedman, you are.
Thank you, President Scringy. My thoughts about this piece of legislation are almost identical to the last piece of legislation. I'd like to point out my name was also erroneously added as a sponsor to this. I have requested that it be removed. This is to Councilwoman Riley's point, this is a grant that also requires a local match. So it's not just money coming into the city. This requires the city to contribute $309,000 and change dollars. And I have yet to see a convincing report or study that shows that more cops make our communities safer. In fact, police officers often show up after the fact. There was an incident in my neighborhood a little while ago where someone had shot a gun just into the air. And then afterward, right in front of my house was roped off as a crime scene. There were something like 20 police officers there. And guess what? They showed up after that person shot that gun twice. They didn't prevent that from happening. So I am hard pressed to understand why, again, when the police officers are some of the highest paid employees of the city, and a significant chunk of our city budget goes to the police, why we're trying to bring in more police officers when, you know, we see also in the New Year's Day incident, the police did not de-escalate that situation. They escalated that situation. So I will be voting against this grant. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other discussion? Councilwoman Riley, you're welcome.
All right. So again, I'll bring to your remembrance when I talked to Chief Zukoski, and he said we are trying to hire to fill the ranks of our police department because there's a shortage. And they talked about revising policy. I think that was actually Jared, to bring in cadets or something about restructuring so we have a pool of candidates that can move right into the pipeline. And then we allocated COVID ARPA funds for bonuses to retain our police officers. And we did not have the same type of support for the other frontline agencies that worked during COVID. I received several emails about the multiple $3,000 disbursements for some of our police officers compared to our ambulance and other direct service providers. I said all of that to say that we are at a shortage, and I've received reports from various constituents about the police sitting in certain parts of the community. And you all were here when I asked Chief Zukoski about that as well. And he said, well, they're writing reports so they don't have to come back to the office and increase the time to respond. Okay, I took that. However, when I received emails about our police, members of our police force being in Johnson City preemptively, because of what I received was a Black History program. I didn't know anything else besides a Black History program was going to happen at Wegmans, which is Johnson City. But we had a number of police officers, and I believe the chief in Johnson City. When there's a shortage, the math is not mathing. And so, again, here we are advocating strongly. And we know we have council members that pledge to the police almost every meeting. And we have people in our community, people that under our employ that are not even barely making a livable wage and are subject to scrutiny at work. These are city employees, yet one subset of the city employees are treated as royalty. And that's a little disheartening for me. And so I say all of that to again highlight how we prioritize things for one office or one department in the city. And although I know you guys do not veer from the mandates from above, I encourage you to think about this. Think about what we do and think about your legacy on council. Because we are not doing what we said we would do for our constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Yeah.
Councilman Burns.
Yeah,
You're
thank you. Yeah, yeah, it does concern me that, we've already budgeted the police budget. We went through it. And, we talked about the fact that we were 19 officers short last year. And, we made sure that we budgeted this coming year to fill those gaps. And so I don't see any reason to add $300,000 to that from any line, really. I mean, we've done what the chief said, this is what he needs, and we gave it to him. So I don't think that we need to give, and I like free money. I love that, but this is not, this is like somebody saying something's going on sale, but not really going on sale, So, or my wife coming home and showing me all the money she saved us. Well, it still costs me money, but I mean, I do the same thing to her now. I'm not trying to. But that's how I feel about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any other discussion? Is the question called? Question's been called. Mr. Clerk.
Councilwoman Resnetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Nay.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Nay.
Councilman Burns,
Name.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and President Scrungy.
Aye.
That's 4 ayes, 3 nays, Riley, Friedman, and Burns.
Introductory Resolution 23-06. Councilman Strawn's recognized for the purposes of a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consideration of introductory resolution 23-06. It's a resolution authorizing the mayor to accept the fiscal year 2022 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant.
Wait, second. Motion by Councilman Strawn, seconded by Councilwoman Resnetti. Discussion. Councilwoman Friedman.
Thank you, President Scrungy. I'd like to highlight that this is the third piece of legislation that my name was erroneously added to. I have asked that it be removed. I am curious. I'm not going to say everything that I've said, because again, even though this grant does not require a local match, the same principles apply. We don't need more officers. We don't need more surveillance. That's not what's keeping our communities safe. I am curious to hear from my colleagues if they would do us the honor of sharing why they feel that this would be useful, because I have not been made privy to any data or study or report that shows that more surveillance leads to safer communities. So I encourage anyone who supports this legislation to explain why they might do that, and I will be voting against it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councilwoman Riley, you're.
I have the floor.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Council President. Again, it is a grant for $31,000 to increase the presence of police in the city parks. The city parks that, particularly one that is close to the 3rd District Rec Park, which was renovated and touted as the premier park for family fun. You're increasing the police where I'm supposed to come and play. Sounds suspect to me. I wouldn't want to see it. I would like water fountains, perhaps, with $31,000. I would like lights on the basketball court, because that's the only part of Rec Park that was not improved. Increased police presence in the park is just not what we heard from the community that not only attended the meetings, but email us on a consistent basis. I'm here. I attend Rec Park. I don't want to see increased police presence. I don't want to see increased police presence at Walnut Street Park. Again, I don't support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councilwoman Friedman, you're right.
Thank you, President Scrungy. Councilwoman Riley jogged my memory for something else that I would like to add. We often conflate police officers with safety, but I'd like to provide yet another example of a park in my district, Columbus Park, with the beloved by many people. It has the splash pad. I see from my office window children all throughout the day going into that park. And I think it was maybe last year, another incident of a gunshot and someone was injured in that instance. Did the police prevent that from happening? No, they showed up after that happened to punish whoever did it. And obviously I am not justifying that act, but the point remains that police did not prevent that from happening. They showed up after it had already happened, after somebody was already shot. I don't know what that person's motivation was. Maybe it was gang related, maybe it was poverty, maybe it was drug related. I don't know, but all of those issues stem from lack of access to resources, not lack of presence of police. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councilwoman Riley, you're.
I'd also like to point out, if we were able to look at reports auditing of the police activity, as was highlighted in the reimagination, whatever document that we talked about during the work session, which was supposed to happen on an ongoing basis, but I've not yet to see anything enacted. We would notice that some weekends, police presence is heavy near Columbus Park. And then when we were walking during, was that parade day? When it was like horrendous. And they passed by quickly. Was that parade day? Certain days, the presence just isn't the same. And it's similar to the response when I talked about Santaville or whatever it was, and someone here said, well, there were no arrests. We know why there were no arrests during SantaCon, because SantaCon looked awfully familiar to our police department, just like post-parade day. But when it comes to other events where they don't look as familiar, oh, we're gonna implement that grant then. I just want you to be mindful of such. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Is the question called?
Call the question, Mr. President.
Question's been called. Mr. Clerk.
Councilwoman Resnetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Nay.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Nay.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and President Scrungy.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes, 2 nays, Riley and Friedman.
Introductory Resolution 23-10. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Resnetti for the purposes of a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consideration for introductory resolution 23-10, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Genuine Parts Company, Napa, to provide integrated business solutions.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Resnetti, seconded by Councilman Scanlon. Discussion. Colleagues. Councilwoman Riley.
Thank you, Council President. Those of you that have been in attendance for the past few meetings, particularly our work session, on Monday, we're privy to a very disjointed conversation that was led by our comptroller. Our comptroller asked us, did we ask for the resumes of the employees we were advocating for? Did we ask for the information on whether they were qualified? Number one, that's not my responsibility. we can ask for those things, but if we have people that are speaking on behalf of the organization that know these details intimately, it is up to them the burden of proof is on them. They hired the candidates. So then if there's something wrong, we have to look at the system failure. And I brought that up yesterday about when there's an issue, we have to do a root cause analysis. We look at the system entirely. I said, tell me about the taxonomy. Who hires who? How does it look? Who's responsible? And we were told that Bernice is over the two people that we were advocating for. Bernice Sinclair was named. And if there were issues, Bernice is supposed to jump in and handle it. Bernice came to the mic and said, I just got here. There's no way I could have been in charge of that, nor could I have affected it. In fact, it was Billy. Billy was here, but we didn't know Billy was in that seat, and we were unable to ask her question. But all along, throughout the process, ultimately, both of those employees reported to the comptroller. The comptroller never once said, let me take the fall or the blame for the oversight of the two employees and the employee that was responsible for checking the two employees. No, he said, did you ask for their resume? So again, when we look at system failures, as I kind of discussed on Monday, we can't just say we're going to buy this bright, shiny patch and apply it and the system will improve. You have to look at where the system failed. And when someone brings you a smoking gun saying, here's the problem, look at this guy, you better look at who's holding the smoking gun and why they're holding the smoking gun. Too many times we receive reports with people named that can be claimed as defamation inappropriately in a formal setting. Too many times. And never once they say, okay, well, I'm sitting in the seat. Let me be authentic. Let me tell you what really happened. We never get that unless we investigate. We go further. Someone said they go down annually and do an audit. I received 3 emails today stating the opposite. I also received calls about the logging that had been reported to the comptroller, but there was no action. I also called Otiga. Now, it took a little while to find someone that had the information because it was some time ago, but they said to the best of their knowledge, it was not 10 years of a relationship with Napa. So then here we are again. He said versus he said. Who's telling the truth? And why do we as council have to become investigative reporters to find out what we need, what is accurate and factual, so that we advocate on behalf of our constituents and our employees? Why do we have to do that? And why do we have to continuously ask questions and half of you leave? Is that not important? Are these questions not concerning to you? Or are you already know what you've been told to vote? No, I'm really just asking. I'm asking because we spent a lot of time on this. You were here. I even said I'll add Geo to our fold because it was the Democrats and Geo. So Geo got to come on in with the Democrat Party. I don't know how he felt. We won't go there. But he was there. And it took a while. We had several questions. And I know the 3 of us are not the only ones with questions. And if we are the only ones with questions, did we forget why we are here? We have employees waiting for us to hear them ask the questions and make a decision based upon facts, not upon someone's recanting of a story or their assessment of what has happened before they were employed. We need facts. And I want to know, did any of you look into the Napa agreement? Did any of you look into the cartograph system and find out what extra steps had been done outside of cartograph because the employees were complaining about the system? If we've allowed something to go on for 10 years, and we were just elected in 19, it's gone on for 10 years and no one has jumped in to remedy the problem outside of making one employee sign a document. I think there's more that we need to do as the elected representatives for this city. And I'm going to make a motion that we hold this over.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. Now,
Exercise chartered right, chapter 26. Who was that? Was that Councilman? You made the
Yeah,
second? So Councilwoman Riley, motion seconded by Councilman Burns.
Yes,
That'll become second read legislation at the next meeting.
and can I make a comment?
Can we reserve that, Councilman, for comments from council?
I could, but it
If
just
it-
concerns what we were just talking about.
If it's germane, please, yeah, just so
Okay.
we keep with the agenda, please.
Right,
quickly.
just so, as Councilwoman Riley was just saying that they've told us that this went on for years. And what would have been great is if somebody sat in front of us and said, you know what? 3 years ago, we educated our employees on the computers. And we have now solved this problem that was going on for years, and it's been solved, and everything's great. And that could have happened. And there's no reason why we can't get our employees, teach them the system that this NAPA, what makes them the computer experts of the world. Our employees are smart enough to learn a computer program. And also we've talked about the fact that, they were saying that on one side of the window, they give them the parts, and then that's the storekeeper's job, to keep track of the parts that they've given out. It's out of their hands at that point, literally out of their hands. So, this is a DPW problem. This is that should have been solved on that side of the window, and on the other side of the window with the computers and keeping track of all the parts and all the parts that we need. We should have taught the employees that, and there's no reason why we can't do that now. And then 2 years from now or 6 months from now, say, gee, everything is going great. And we didn't have to bring in some outside non-union people. And this is also the beginning of, when the treatment plant was going to go private, we all came down and said, no, this is you can't just do away with the union. You just can't do that. And we did save that. We did save the union over there. But I believe that this is the beginning of a privatization of our public works department. And I don't think that we should do it. Anyway, that's it. Thanks.
It is related.
Quickly, please. Councilwoman Riley.
Thank you, Council President. As quickly as possible, I'd like to put on the record and maybe ask the clerk to assist me with this. I would like a copy of the resumes as stated by Chuck Shager, their hiring time, as well as the competitive price list that NAPA provided for us in terms of how the prices will be analyzed, a sample of how they compare to the other vendors that we typically use, such as, what's the local one, you guys? Stadium? Is Stadium sound familiar? Stadium, I want to know how we compare, how they compare with the additional 10% that will be added as per this contract. So if you can assist me with that, that is my request of Chuck Shager and the representatives from ARPA. I would also like verification of their time in Otiga from ARPA. I mean, not ARPA, Napa, ARPA's on my mind, from Napa. I need truth. I need actual data, some type of proof. Thank you.
Thank you. If you need assistance with that, let's work together, make sure we can get that info. Thank you. Communications from council members. We will begin with Councilwoman Friedman.
With me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. I don't have that much to report, I don't think. Happy Black History Month. I'm trying to think of anything that was going on in the 4th district. I braved the cold last Friday, the bitter cold, to attend First Friday, and it was wonderful as always. If you're scared of the cold, I understand, but First Friday is still happening. There's a wonderful slew of galleries that are open on State Street, and I don't think there's not that I can think of anything else going on in the 4th district. Oh, you know what I did want to comment on, actually, Councilwoman Riley brought up something that is outside of the 4th district, but I do think is prudent, something that I would like to put on the record, which was the incident at Wegmans, which was the protest or demonstration gathering remembrance for Tyree Nichols, who was brutally murdered by at the hands of the police. And I'm sure, I've heard people say, well, it's a different person in a different state, so why does it matter? It matters an incredible deal, because though our police department, to my knowledge, has not killed anyone in recent memory, we came pretty close. We came too close for comfort for me on New Year's. And the response by the police department, not just our police department, Johnson City's police department, and there were multiple municipalities that sent their police there. The sheriff's office was there. They proved the point by showing up in such large numbers. They proved the point that we are over policed. We are, what an inappropriate and terrifying response to a group of people who were planning to raise awareness for somebody who was murdered recently. That terrifies me. The fact that there were almost as many, there was almost a 1-to-1 ratio of police officers to citizens. There is footage of press of a newspaper reporter being pepper sprayed. Literally 1 second after the police officer says, back up or I'm going to pepper spray you. Immediately pepper sprays a bunch of people. You can watch the footage. It is so upsetting and so just outrageously over exaggerated. How that could be thought of as community safety is obscene to me. And Tyree Nichols is, like, God forbid, that could have been Amael Waddell. That could have been. Thank God it was not. But we see so many. I think that every day so far this year, police have killed at least one American person. I believe. And that's not community safety to me. So what's happening around the US is reflective. And I heard a saying once that was anything any preventative measures before something happens is viewed as an overreaction. Anything that happens afterward is viewed as an underreaction. So I would rather have something that is maybe incorrectly assessed to be an overreaction if it means that we will never, ever have something like that happen in our city. So that's my opinion on what happened outside of the 4th district. I also believe that all of the charges should be dropped against the protesters. A lot of them, I was made aware, were charged with resisting arrest. I don't know how it's possible to be arrested for resisting arrest. But it's, you know, our police department was involved in that. And so we had 3 pieces of legislation giving the police department more money so they can pepper spray people who are holding a remembrance event for someone who was murdered by police. That's not where I want my money to go. That's not where my constituents want their tax dollars to go. And people are scared. People are scared of the police. Maybe not the people who look like the police, but a lot of my constituents are scared of the police. And not in good conscience. I cannot possibly give more money to the police in good conscience. So unfortunately, I wish I had some more uplifting news. I should have saved the first Friday bit for the end, but those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Byrd.
Thank you. Well, outside of the 5th district, I was watching the president last night, and I thought it was a great speech, and got thinking that two weeks ago I went and I listened to Mayor Cram had mentioned that he had gone down to Washington and got to go to the White House, and the president spoke. So I went to YouTube and I looked it up, that the speech that he had listened to, and I listened to it, and he was speaking to all the mayors, and he talked about the ARPA money, and I'm just grateful that he was president at the time that all the cities in the United States needed him to be the president, because otherwise, we would have been up that creek without the paddle. Anyway, so I'm grateful for that, and that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Strong.
Just wanted to mention, I didn't say anything in introductory resolution 2310. I figured I'd wait for this. I just wanted to mention that after hearing some of the things said, I am glad it was held over. I do have a few other questions myself. My biggest concern I mentioned before, whether it's Napa or what we had, is the broader internal control deficiencies that seem to be emanating from that area with that amount of money. And with my background in accounting, that is very bothersome to me either way. I do struggle with the comptroller and the commissioner of DPW, the head of the department and in charge of the internal control, supporting this, but I had talked to one of the storekeepers who is related to one of the people, and they vehemently oppose it. So, but they were working in that area. So I want to gather a little bit more information, but I do think that the fact that it can be changed, it's not a long-term commitment, is something to look at. But at this point, I'm not sure what all the alternatives are, but I do want to explore that a little bit more. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Scanlon.
No comment tonight, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. Want to thank
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Riley, that was incredibly rude of me. Floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you for remembering me during Black History Month. Thank you. I'm representing District 3. I am an elected official. I do get to talk and represent my district. Number one, I want to bring up the fact that we heard from our constituents regarding communication in the city, and I too agree that communication in the city is poor. Several times you can hear me stating that I hear most of my information from press releases. And if I am an elected official and I can't get information, then I know people that have no ties to the mayor via email probably don't have any information. In fact, many of my constituents say thank you for posting as much as I do on Facebook, because that is what I know has been effective outside of me posting notes in their door jams or what have you. So we must do better. Even the signs from zoning, the green and white signs that are posted in the lawns are not as effective if you don't travel past them and stop and read what's actually on there. I myself saw a sign next door to me that I didn't even know about and came to find out that they wanted me to speak at said zoning meeting. I didn't know. So nevertheless, I agree with all of the constituents, both here in person and watching via the teleconference. Again, I want to highlight February is an important month, and not only in District 3, but across the globe. February is American Heart Month. And as I reflect on the passing of one of my cousins, who was only 5 years my senior last week because of cardiovascular disease, I implore everyone to go and make an appointment and get a checkup. Know the warning signs of a stroke and implement lifestyle modifications to decrease the prevalence of CVD, not only in Broome County, because we are impacted, but in the US. And as I alluded to earlier, this is Black History Month. And I wanted to highlight, as I shared before, that I would be sharing things with the council, because I know that everyone can appreciate facts and tips. Two things that are happening in the district that will occur before our next meeting on the 27th, because this is an off month. On Saturday, February 25th, right in the district at the American Legion, there's the Being Black History Expo, where there will be vendors and acts and talent and all types of things. So I encourage you to stop by. It starts at 4 p.m. Donations are also being accepted. And then on Sunday, February 26th at 3 p.m., Boulevard United Methodist Church, 113 Grand Boulevard in District 2 is having an ecumenical commemoration of Black History Month, which is also going to be exciting. But before I leave you, I want to highlight a Black history fact for you. In fact, on this day in February 8, 1968, 3 South Carolina State students were killed, shot dead by officers on the campus of South Carolina University in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Again, the students were gathered to protest the segregated bowling alley, and as opposed to de-escalating the civil rights events, police began shooting into the crowd. 9 police officers were tried and acquitted, although witnesses testified there was no gunfire prior to the police shooting. None of the students had a gun, nor were they fighting. The reason I bring this up is because, again, as I've kind of continued on a thread this meeting, and maybe you've noticed a change in my tone, I am tired of issues with police, particularly regarding people that look like me. And as our president said last night, public safety depends on public trust, as all of us know. And he then recognized Tyree Nichols' family. He then implored the joint sessions of Congress to do something about the state of American policing. And I'm going to echo those sentiments, as I commonly do, to those of you around this square with me, to do something. As one of our local radio hosts said, our mayor is not a council member. So when things are stated that his party won't do, let's prove them wrong sometimes. Let's do something. It has been 38 days since the horrific events that took place on the corner of State and Holly. And yet I still ask, what is being done? As mentioned earlier, our mayor made a tweet about Tyree Nichols. And although I'm not sure what the intent was, I was afforded the opportunity to attend a meeting with the mayor and several of the ecumenical leaders, the pastors, NAACP, pretty much, I guess, what somebody would coin the Black leaders meeting. And out of that meeting, there was a resounding call for some type of statement to say that the members in that meeting were heard. The members in the community that are hurting are heard. And we left that meeting with a statement saying, I'm going to work on that. Today is February 8th, and I've not yet seen said statement, but I saw this tweet about Tyree. And I hate to use the word performative. I try to reserve it, but that's how I feel. So I close my statement today, again, with the words of President Biden. Council, do something. Say something. Do something. Thank you.
Thank you for the information, Councilwoman. Please accept my deepest apology that I missed you on the turnaround of the communications. Just a few things as it relates to the first district. I incredibly want to thank many of the residents in the ward, particularly near Front Street. And I also want to really thank DPW and Code, Chris Slater and his entire staff. We had a major issue with a property that required a lot of turnaround. All I will say is quite literally 2 garbage trucks. And it was fast laned as quickly as possible. And I know I've heard from a number of residents, as well as a smaller meeting that I had with a few of them down there. It was incredibly impactful. So I really want to say thank you to them. Just a few things as it relates to body and moving forward. Some things that I have in some way, shape, or form over the last few weeks had individual conversations with all of you. I am listening, and therefore I am responding in the following way. Number 1, Councilman Burns, thank you for your time on the Finance Committee. Thank you for serving on it. Truly appreciate it. This leaves a vacancy in it. Therefore, I am appointing as a standing committee member of the Finance Committee, Councilwoman Friedman. Mr. Clerk, please make sure any appropriate legislation, any documentation, paperwork, and the city's website reflects that change. And thank you for your interest in it. Number 2, as it relates to the city council budget review date process, I've informed and I've directed the city clerk to add, as it stands right now, an additional full day for council to review the budget when we get to it. So under my power, under the charter, under chapter 26, I am calling a special business meeting for the purpose of city council budget review, which again will be a full, not a half day, before a meeting or after meeting, after a work session or business meeting, rather, I should say. And that will be at 5 p.m. Monday, September 25th. We can look to adjust, obviously, as we go forward in further discussions, but I just wanted to let you know that a number of you did bring that to my attention. So, Mr. Clerk, if you could please, I believe the budget review on the city council calendar is coded with the color yellow, I believe. So if we could fill that date in, and then we'll look requisitely if we need to change or adapt or anything else. I'm currently in the process of reviewing what has gone through some turnaround time in the city clerk's office after speaking with a number of you, and I got a chance to speak to the mayor about this as well as some department heads. The reality of it is the logistical process of how agendas are created and the way we receive the requisite information for those agendas needs to be changed. I am in the process of finalizing a draft new request for legislation template. It's going to be longer, but it's going to be more concise. I want to thank the clerk and the Madam Clerk for the suggestions that they offered. I am going to reserve my right to give a once more over review on that final draft just before I circulate it, just to make sure that I've dotted my I's and crossed my T's. That will come down at the latest at the next work session. And if I've got a good sense of things, obviously I'll circulate that electronically earlier. Councilwoman Riley, I received your email. I responded to it. I apologize. I was in class. I couldn't get that right away. So this is for obviously ensuring timely documentation, ensuring presenters, ensure that we kind of solidify appropriate attachments, things related to grants, budget transfers, making sure that all of that stuff is documented. And obviously, hopefully we can at least institutionally get that enculturated and get that process continuing, moving forward. Another deals with public input. I had a few colleagues bring up that they would like the opportunity where appropriate and where possible when, and I don't mean this in a downturning way, but just in the pejorative sense of larger, big concerns. Councilwoman Freeman and I had a good long conversation. I think we started calling them like big ticket items, I think it was, right? For opportunities for maybe a special business meeting as it might relate to maybe eliciting more public input or something like that. Completely open to that. We can look at on a case-by-case basis, gauge where the body is, and if we need it, we'll do it. No problem with that. So let's see. Finance, budget, new RL. And then lastly, for now, I'm not going to fully go into this tonight, only because I had some good conversations with colleagues and we talked about the idea of the body looking at a 30-day review in the ways in which we deal with RLs that come before us that have a public hearing that is attached to them. It's not 100%, but an overwhelming majority of the time, it's usually due to the fact that there's some bond ordinance that's usually associated with that RL. And there's been concerns about, obviously there's some public hearings where no one speaks, and there are some public hearings where some people speak, and there are some public hearings where more people speak. But particularly in the cases in which people do speak, we want to make sure that we're taking the time to kind of look into and review and take into account the good feedback we've been given. So given the fact that we actually didn't have a public hearing tonight and we set one for 2 weeks from today, I'll get into that more specifically at our next work session, but want to try to find a way to kind of clear that out. And I'm happy with some of the conversations that we've had. And I'm very much open to the body looking at that, a 30-day review process, something like that, right? And then if everything's good, hey, we good. If we need to make some changes, we make alterations, and right, change is a changing process. So I'm listening. That's where I'm at right now. Any changes or anything that you think might be helpful for the body, the public, the building, whatever it might be, obviously I will take those into consideration as they come. So I just wanted to let you know I'm listening, and I appreciate all the feedback. And that being said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Scanlon, seconded by Councilwoman Friedman. All those in favor signify by saying aye. We are
Aye.
adjourned.